Dear listeners, most of us walking around hearing an identity that has handed to us before we were old enough to refuse it, built out of our parents' expectations, obviously, and our culture's approval, our community's silent rules, and for a long time, that borrowed identity actually works until it does not. Until one day, in the middle of a perfectly normal life, something inside you quietly says, "This is not me." And from that moment on, you cannot unhear it. Yes. So today's conversation is for the person who has finally started hearing that voice and is wondering what to do next. So, hey, dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Avik, and this is the podcast where we have real, grounded conversations about mental health in everyday life, not the polished version, the lived version. And I'd say today's guest is someone who has done the slow, sacred work of unwinding the conditioning that she inherited and finding the self that was waiting underneath it. And we are going to talk about the identity, conditioning, trauma, and what it actually takes to succeed as the real you. So, joining me today is a lovely guest. Please welcome Lauretta Zucchetti. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vic. I love the introduction that you gave me. Makes me wonder, is it talking about me?
Yes. So, yeah. And dear listeners, like before we get deep into the discussion today with Loeta, I would quickly introduce with all of you with her. So she is a writer, speaker, and the coach who walks at the intersection of identity, healing, and inner freedom. So I'll not take much of a time, dear listeners. And Loretta, thank you so much for being here. And just start with, I was thinking like, why can't we do like this way? Like before we get into the more deep conversations, I want to start something gentle. Like if you can share like on an ordinary morning in your life right now, what is the one small thing that you do that feels like a quiet act of choosing yourself? And if you can share. Yeah.
Well, that is a very keen and intelligent question, I have to say, because every day I'm asking myself the same question, and not because I am a very selfish person, I don't think so, but because I realize the importance of finding my deepest self
Mm.
in the midst of crisis, trauma, problems, people, you name it, right? And it is the most important thing that we can do on a daily basis because that is our God's given gift to know who we are and to choose accordingly. Because that's how we find the present moment and how we find how to be, not just what to do, because we're a human being, we're not human doing, even though in today's world we tend to do more than be. And it is very challenging sometimes because the first thing that someone does when waking up is checking the phone, checking the news, and that is the worst thing that could happen because all of a sudden we're part of stories that are not our stories. And for me, it was a first, I don't know if you want me to share this, but to find myself and really get rid of my past conditioning, which was really intense. I grew up basically in foster homes, and I was given an identity that wasn't mine at all. And I knew right there, unconsciously as a child, of course, that I didn't want that life. That was their lives, their choices. But it was hard to choose because I didn't have the freedom, the tools, but I knew that that wasn't me. And it took a long time to unravel of that and to get to know who I am at the core. But again, even as an adolescent and a young adult, I made choices that were not aligned with myself truly, because the fear of making mistakes or being alone or brought me to choose people that would feel safe but not necessarily aligned with my values or who I would even become. So it's so important to be aware of ourselves ASAP, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And thank you so much first for sharing all that. And like also I'd love to ask, like, and obviously the real one, if you can take us back, like into the chapter of your life when you first realized that the identity you had been carrying was not actually yours. So what was happening at that time, and what did you not yet understood about that or understand about that?
Well, I was a happy child. I was a very, I remember, very gregarious. And all of a sudden, I'm in foster homes with people that unfortunately were abusive. And because my father left when I was very young, my mom wasn't coping well, and the little she was present was not very peachy. So I found myself, even at that age, trying to flee and going to my paternal grandmother, who lived on the other side of town in Italy, and literally, running away from the scene. Eventually, I succeeded, and those years with my grandmother saved me from a life of probably disaster and failure, because I was able to experience a few years of peace and routine and anything that a child needs, until I was brought back to live with my mom, who couldn't cope. And anyway, that's again another sad story. But I really, I don't know. Unless you want me to, I don't need to mention it.
Yeah.
It's a constant going in, going out, going in, going out.
Mm.
So it's only as an adult that I was able to make my own choices and say, "Oh, okay, let's stop all this and let's get on a train somewhere," But what I want to mention, which was not listed in my profile, if I may, life has a way to, I should say God, because I'm a big believer that there is a God now, that has a way of knocking you down when you don't hear the lesson. Because I kept doing someone else's agenda, whether it be a husband, I was married twice, whether it be a boss, and doing things for others. And when I was pregnant with my second child, I lost him at birth. And I believe he came and left to teach me to love myself more. And and that was a big turning point, because at that point I really had to stop everything I was doing that was not geared towards the truth of me, and the truth of what I needed to do for the good of other people too. And that's when I really implemented some big changes.
Mm. Very true. Very true. Ooh. So obviously, and I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely, I have to say that it lands because I think there is something honest in what you just said about not understanding what was happening in real time. We tend to imagine that awakening is dramatic, but it is often quite almost embarrassing, almost kind of lonely, and the willingness to honor that earlier version of yourself with compassion instead of judgment is exactly the permission a lot of listeners need to give themselves today. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you've ever heard the story. Sometimes people get into accidents all the time,
Yeah.
and it's the universe sending you messages. So going, okay, something is wrong here. Pay attention, listen up. And I really also believe that sometimes people end up dying because they're not listening, they leave the body because it's like, okay, let's go to the next life. Or but I had to stop, quit my job, and went back to school for a degree in women's studies because I needed to understand why women tend to abandon themselves so much, why. And then I got a master in transpersonal psychology, which is really the spiritual aspect of who we are, and that gave me a lot of amazing ground to walk on as far as how to be present for ourselves and how to face life from a different perspective, that's not so materialistic or so survival oriented.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And also love to ask like about the trauma,
Yeah.
but in a very specific way, like not the loud, the the kind that recognizes a life subtly over years in ways that even the person living it does not recognize as trauma. So if you walk all of us into your understanding of how trauma shapes the identity and what it asks of us when we finally turn toward it instead of around it.
Mm-hmm. Well, trauma by neurological definition is something that's, if you will, unexpected, sudden, and at the brain level, shortcuts all the passages necessary to be able to process things. So what happens is you have passages that get short circuit, they go bam, 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 and I can't remember all the definitions, but my understanding is the amygdala gets into immediate action, and you're flooded with cortisol, and then you're traumatized, but you're not really aware of what's happening until later, so you may be caught in a fire, or someone slaps you, or tries to hurt you, and that's a trauma. Or trauma, long-term trauma could be being abused continually by people who care for you. Those are traumatic events. So trauma takes a huge amount of time to explain and to cure and to heal. And only now I think they're starting to really recognize what it takes, because it gets embedded in your cells too, in your body. There is a book out by Van der Bezel, is the doctor, who says the body knows and continues to hold on to trauma no matter what you do. So, and for me, it took me a long time to unravel all the stuff from before and have therapists and helpers, work with me.
Mhm. Sure, sure, very sure. And also, like to be more practical into like reclaiming your identity is not a kind of weekend retreat. So it is a slow, sometimes invisible practice that asks you to keep coming back, even when the external world is not yet rewarding the true version of, right? So if you can share like about sustaining this work, like how do you keep choosing yourself year after year when the world keeps offering you easier ways to disappear back into your old shape?
That's another very intelligent question, because it would be easier to just let go and go, okay, I'm just going to accept this mantle that they gave me. this is where I have to thank the people who abused me growing up, because I knew I had something more to offer, because I would go to school hungry and sometimes with holes in my shoes, and yet I could remember what the teacher said without doing my homework. And I knew I had an extra point in my brain. I could survive no matter what. And I didn't have a place to go to study, or the people who took care of me were not present. So, and that's when I learned to that I can always emerge. I can always come back. And I also learned instinctively that there is a presence within us that is always there, and it's, for lack of a better word, it's our soul, and our soul can be a lot older than the body that we're given.
Hmm.
And with time I came to really ask for help in this presence and say, okay, help me. How do i how do i deal with this in a way that I can come back no matter what? And I'm facing this right now, that there is a lot of crisis happening around me, and I'm like, okay, how do I choose myself again and again and again? I wouldn't be here if I let go. But I think that the faith also comes into place, the faith that we're not alone and the universe helps you achieve what you want to achieve for the betterment of humanity, not for just yourself. I think it's very important that you continue to know that at the end of the road you're doing something that is for everyone, not just yourself, and you just keep coming back no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, amazing. So if you have to give one advice to the listeners today, what that will be?
Don't give up, ever, ever. Don't give up. Life is really hard for everyone, but breathe, stay centered, know that life is only a journey of trial and error. That's it. And, we're eternal. We're really strong beings who just come to learn and to give to each other, and to help the world becoming more evolved. I mean, I happen to study and to be knowledgeable of what's on the other side after my son died, and I know that it's only temporary, and Earth is one of three most difficult planets to inhabit, and we're doing it, and we're strong, we're amazing. So don't give up.
Amazing. Great. And if listeners wants to connect with you, what will be the great medium to connect?
It's my website, laurettazucchetti.com. And then you can book a session, or, no cost, just even to just chat is fine. Or I'm on social media, especially Facebook. Lauretta Zucchetti is my name. And I'm actually starting to be more present on all the channels, Instagram and LinkedIn, and or my email, which is laurettazucchetti@gmail.com.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for your easy reference so that you can easily reach out to Loretta. And I'd say, like, first of all, thank you so much, Loretta. This was the kind of conversation,
Thank you.
heavy, yeah. So, this was the kind of conversation Healthy Mind, Healthy Life was built for, which is honest, grounded, and willing to look out at the parts of ourselves that we have spent a lifetime ignoring. And to whosoever is listening right now, or maybe you will be listening later as well, especially the one quietly realizing that the life you have been living was built around someone else's expectations. And I'll leave you with this: you do not have to throw away your whole life to reclaim yourself. You just have to start listening to the version of you that has been waiting at an end. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
The work is
Thank you.
slow. Yeah, the work is slow. The work is sacred. The work is yours. So keep listening, keep choosing yourself, and keep coming home. Thank you so much.